Hey everybody, this is Bud Brown living in Dumaguete City, Philippines. My last video, I talked, the point of it was to kind of encourage people to reunite with old friends, old classmates, and people that they hadn't seen in a while. I thought this would be a good opportunity now that we're stuck at home. But as I was sharing this experience of the fellow that I had reconnected with, Jim, I said that we were in a religious cult together for 13 years. And so I just kind of said that incidentally, not as a main focus. Of course, a lot of people caught that and said, wait, hold on here. You were in a religious cult for 13 years? And we know there's a story there. So, okay. Although, if you know me, my other channel I had over 1,000 videos, and this one I've got over 100. But one of my main rules, ground rules, is I don't want to discuss ants on my feet. I don't want to discuss religion or politics because it's just too controversial. But in this case, I want to make an exception because I think people may benefit from it. So that's the main reason I do these videos, that if somebody can learn from my experience, either a good experience or a bad experience, then that'll be fine. So let me just say, if you know already, I was in the Navy. I joined when I was 18, and I got out when I was 22. And when I was in, I met my wife, Gloria, and then I got out in 72 and sent for her. Took her 6 months to get here. But she got here, and she was 21, and I was 22. So, and now she's 69. I'm 70, so a long time. But during that time in my life, when I got out, like a lot of servicemen, they didn't really have a job. And so I decided I wanted to go back to school. I'd been to 1 year of college, so I wanted to finish my 3 more years to get my bachelor's degree. So I we moved to Fresno, California, and I enrolled in California State University in Fresno. So this is really where the story begins. When I was registering, there was a young man about my age that was standing in line. Of course, we struck up a conversation, and he said that he had some friends. They like to get together, have a good time, and they'd go over and they'd have dinner together. So very innocuous, right? So I said, oh, that's good, because I just got out of the Navy. I didn't have a lot of friends or didn't know a lot of people, especially there in Fresno. So actually, I was looking for my purpose in life. I didn't really know what I was going to do, where I was going to go, what kind of work that I would do. So we met over at a fellow's house. There's about 10 of us. And they were all very nice, cordial, and seemed to be interested in, oh yeah, you're this, and you're interested in language. Oh, you're an interpreter. Oh, that's very cool. And that. So they said, oh, we're gonna get together next week. So and Gloria, as is her nature, didn't want to come. She doesn't like to get together with people. So she stayed home while I was going to these meetings every week. And they said, we're going to read some Bible scripture here. It talks about what we're doing. And, the first Christians, they met in homes. And so little by little, I became more and more involved. And the people seemed so nice, and as they say, like a family. So this went on then they bought a place in Fresno. They bought a building and started meeting there. And they we were meeting more and more often, more and more often. There wasn't one preacher, wasn't one man in charge, although there was one man that they read his books extensively, and his name was Witness Lee. And he was from Taiwan, but he lived in Anaheim, California. But he put out a lot of publications, and a lot of the meetings were centered around what he had to say. So after several years went by, and our children were born at this time, and there were two elders. They were kind of the leaders of the group. They called the shots. And so I noticed as I look back that it, took over our life. We were, when we first got married, we lived in a mobile home, and we were encouraged to stay near the so-called brothers and sisters. So they were in a apartment complex. So I sold a mobile home, moved into the apartment complex. So they were people from the church, all around, upstairs, downstairs. And so it came to the point after 12 years, our children were probably 8 or 9 or 10 years old, when one of the elders was accused of a bad crime. And so I don't really want to say, because it was gone, it went to court, and it wasn't proven, but the talk, got around. And so at that point, well, I should say, during those 13 years, I was in construction. My dad was a contractor, and mostly lathing. That's preparing the house to be plastered. And so I was working for this grumpy old plasterer, and so I was doing lath and plastering. And so it was all physical work, hard work, and his attitude didn't help. He was he was a grumpy guy, and it was just very prejudiced, and I was embarrassed to work for him. But so after, when this time came, when one of the leaders of the local group there was accused, and a lot of rumors went around, a lot of stories went around, and I was so disillusioned. I had given myself fully, and towards the last, we were meeting every night. Of course, once again, Gloria stayed home, and I would take the children, and they would even sleep under the chair, when the meetings got into 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. So finally, I said to myself, wow, if this fellow who I really looked up to has done this, even if it smells like he did it, I don't want any part of it. So at that time, most of the group, maybe half or a little more than half, I'm not sure how many, but anyway, they all kind of went our different directions. I went back to my hometown. Well, by this time also I had gotten my degree, and also I got my degree in linguistics, BA, and then I thought that I wanted to be a teacher. So I went back to school. This was during this time before I left, and got my teaching credential, which is another year. You have to have in California public schools, you have to have a degree, plus you have to have a teaching credential. So I got that, and then shortly after that, it broke up. I went to my hometown, and I started applying for different teaching jobs. So I was 35 at that time. So I joined the group when I was 22, and then when I was 35, I started public school teaching, and I started teaching in a town that was an hour or so away from Fresno. And I had a great time there. But I have to say that, when I first left, I was kind of looking over my shoulder waiting for the lightning to strike, because we were indoctrinated to believe that there was only one true church, and that was it. And so if you left that, then you left you left everything. You left your safety bubble. So after a couple of years, I realized that I was still living. I still enjoyed my life. Matter of fact, I enjoyed it even more. I was kind of free to do what I want, when I wanted to, for as long as I wanted to. So I taught public schools for 20 years. That would be from age 35 to 55. And then I retired when I was 56. So because of the school year, I wasn't exactly 55. I had just turned 56. So then Gloria and I, we took off to Mexico, because I was a kid. I used to live in Mexico, and I promised myself that I would want to go back someday. But Gloria, after 2 years, she just couldn't, how do I say? Hindi kaya. She just didn't fit in. She couldn't handle it. So I said, well, how about the Philippines? So we made plans. We came to the Philippines, and then that was, let me see, I was 56, so a couple years. Mexico, 758. So about 59 or 60, I don't know now, we came to the Philippines. Now there was a break, because after 3 years, a lot of you know this already, my mother had health went down, and so we moved back to California, and we lived with my mom for a little over a year, and until she passed away. But that's another story. But then we came back, and we've been here ever since. Now, someone asked me, did I have any regrets about my life, because he felt that everything that happened in his life, good and bad, has brought him up to where he is today, and that's a good point. However, I do have to say that I regret neglecting my immediate family and my extended family while I was pursuing this, the meetings and giving my life to this. I hesitate to say cult, because they went to court and they were technically not a cult, but they did follow this man religiously. So I regretted that. I regretted being so hard on my children. They were of the philosophy of spare the rod and spoil the children. So now that I look back, I apologized to my children for being so hard on them, and I just regretted it. And of course, they're so great. They forgive me, and they didn't really, think too much about it. But I felt bad. So, they're 42 and 43 at this time. So that is something I regret, and I regret wasting those 13 years. I don't know if you'd call it a waste. You're supposed to learn from your experiences. But I will say one thing, and this is the main thing that I learned. When I meet someone now for coffee or breakfast, I have no hidden motive at all. I want to hear their story. Why are they here in the Philippines? What brought them here? I have no ulterior motive to, I asked them for breakfast or coffee, but actually I want them to come. This is the way it was when I was in that group. Like when I first got there, you invite them over for dinner, have the brothers and sisters over for dinner, we all meet, we pretend like we care about them, but actually in our mind we're thinking, these people are blind and we can see. We're the only ones that can see. So little by little, very subtly, we will bring them over to see what we see. that's the way my attitude was before. But that's been 35 years ago, and I would say the best thing that I've learned now is that people inherently, I believe, are good people, and I would give everybody open arms. But if I find out that they're a serial killer, then no communication. Then I leave and we break our relationship. But so now, if we have coffee or have breakfast or we get together, I'm just curious and interested to know how's your life doing, you know. So that's the story about 13 years and the cult. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming by. Sorry this may be a little bit heavy for the ones that have come here for the first time, but the ones that have been with me for years and years, you know, you may be curious about that. And so that's the story on that. Everybody be safe these days, especially these days, and I wish you all the very best. Till next time, bye-bye.